Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Quad Chat.
What's up? It's been a minute.
We've already got 15 people. That's pretty good for YouTube just starting. It's always so slow. Okay, good.
Even Kyle's in here. What's up, buddy?
I mean, we do have a pretty important guest today. Someone I've been hoping for 2 years would come on the show and finally is gracing us with their royalty presence. I guess it's just royal presence, not royalty presence. It's been a long day. My English not so good. Hello, Brian. We'll give everyone like maybe a minute more, and then we will bring in our VIP here. I'm sure everyone's very aware who's coming on the show.
Well, yeah. Who wouldn't be? Like, I don't know. Do they come to see us or do they come to see the guests? Oh,
they're totally here for Bardwell.
I thought they were here for me.
I mean, it depends on who you ask. Rollins would say they're here for you.
Rollins would be here definitely just to see me and my goat.
Yeah, and the goat. It's always the screaming goat. Well, I guess without further ado, we can bring in the main man. Brian's like, is it Jake's mom? What? Oh, all right. Here's our main man, Joshua Bardwell, joining us, guys. How's it going,
What's up, guys? How you doing?
I'm not giving you. I feel like with Bot, I had to give him such a special intro, but with you, there's just honestly nothing that can be said.
Nobody.
Like everyone knows you. You're just
nobody knows who Bot Grinder is.
I know, right?
Ooh.
No, he requested a very special intro, and if you go back and watch it, it was pretty. I had to get people to help. It was pretty funny. It was like an actual speech that we gave him.
He is good with the production. I just kind of show up and wait for people to ask me questions.
Which this is good though, because this is right up your comfort zone, right? Except
for sure.
It's live. Although I know you do your live streams with It's Blunty and some people now, like you've been doing more of the live, but you still have more control when it's your show. So thank you for putting some trust in us.
Now I'm completely out of anything could happen.
Well, hopefully StreamYard works. Like I said, it's been a few since our last video here. Jake's waving at your mom. Looks like Bardwell. There we go. That's how we're gonna start with Brian.
Yeah, I guess there's some similarities there, aren't there?
Let's see. Hello, Lawrence. Hello, 608. Hello, Zach and Vano and Butcher. Brian, Casey,
Koopy.
Mike. Koopy is John. Oh, there's John. I see John. I haven't seen John in a while. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of these tonight. Hello,
Bardwell.
Jeff.
I should put it out. I'm going to put the link out.
Sure. Yeah, we like to give at least 5 minutes, and then we'll get into the questions and the nitty gritty. I know YouTube's always very slow on those prompts.
Yeah, you never know when they're going to show notifications, do you?
I actually get some of yours the next day.
I know. My wife she subscribed to me, of course. She's like, oh, you just uploaded a video. I'm like, no, I didn't. But YouTube seems to think that they know when you'll want to watch it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they just send it to us the next day. It's so silly.
Hey, look, if it gets views, that's all that matters. Like, if they're like, she won't watch it at this time, don't show it to them. You know, their algorithm is trying to do its magic.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's funny, though, sometimes, because then you miss something that was live, though, that you wanted to be there for.
That's true. If it's live, they should really tell you while it's live. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
All we can do is our best. And it seems to be working for you.
Just make good content, right? That's the key.
Well, you've been YouTubing for 16 years.
Have I been YouTubing
August
for 16?
13th of 2006, you started your YouTube channel with GTA
Well, that's when
videos.
I started my YouTube. No, that is correct. That's when my YouTube channel was created. I don't know. When was my first video actually uploaded,
Your first drone video was 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's more like it. So,
Which is still a very long time.
That's true. Yeah, I don't remember why I made the YouTube channel, but it was back when, like, it probably just got created when I made, was that before Google and YouTube were together? Maybe it was. I don't know.
2006, or sorry, 6 years ago. Yeah, no, they must have been merged by then.
I was gonna say maybe when I got my Gmail account, they just made the YouTube channel for me, but I'm not sure whether they were. I don't remember, but I just uploaded. Like if you look at like if I go and look at like private videos and then sort by oldest, it's just like videos of my cat and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like GTA was your first videos, and then I think there's like mixed stuff in there and
just various, because back then we didn't have cloud storage for everything.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to keep these videos, I just uploaded them to YouTube.
Well, and even Facebook didn't really have the presence and pull. Like now, a lot of us just use Facebook to store the stuff too, right? So it just depends, but that's pretty cool.
Did you know that there are more Joshua Bardwells than just you out there?
Yeah, it's true. There other people have my name, but fortunately, when you search for drone stuff, hopefully I'm the one who comes up.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty cool when you search your name in Google, because obviously we do that to try and get some info on you. You know how Google always gives you the people also ask questions.
Right. So, this is the suggested results.
Yeah. So you get, who is Joshua Bardwell? How do I contact Joshua Bardwell?
Oh.
How do you set the rate in Betaflight? And how do I set up Betaflight? So, I mean, that's pretty great. Like, it's completely weird to how you've been targeting it.
Those are your results for like when you put Joshua Bardwell in?
Yeah, those are my results. Right. I don't know if it's going to focus.
Did you just type Joshua Bardwell?
Just Joshua Bardwell.
All I typed too.
How do I see my suggested? See, I'm just seeing my own search results.
So if you look at people also ask right below Jake's screen here, I'll blow them up.
There you go.
Boom.
When I type Joshua Bardwell, I just get, because I always do my own search results. I search for my own videos. And so it's just a zillion. I see. Yeah. How do you, I see that. People also ask. Who is, I just see my own historical search results for my own videos because I'm trying to forward links to people. But I thought, Joshua Bardwell, so I've seen Joshua Bardwell's wife suggested, or Joshua Bardwell income suggested.
I've seen that too.
That's lovely, isn't it?
All of the Rotor Riot people, if you search their name, it says income. Because everyone wants to know. And let's get that out of the way quickly. How much is Rotor Riot paying you as a salary? I already know the answer, but let's just.
I'm not currently a Rotor Riot employee.
There we go. So you're genuinely recommending things based on your preference and not a paycheck.
Well, I mean, I always recommend things based on what I think is good for people. I mean, because if you lose your integrity and people's trust in you, then you have nothing. But I'm a Rotor Riot affiliate, so I have an affiliate code at the Rotor Riot store. So if I recommend a product at the Rotor Riot store, I'll use an affiliate code, and if somebody uses that link, then I'll get a percentage of the cut. I'm not a Rotor Riot employee, so in as much as I appear on Rotor Riot episodes, that is just I was a Rotor Riot employee for, I think, in 2018, for most of 2018, but there was a period Drew kept asking me to do things, which, since he was my boss, that was his prerogative, and I kept wanting to do other things. I'd be like, well, I'm kind of busy right now, and I thought, I probably shouldn't be taking a paycheck from this guy if I'm not going to do things when he asked me to do them. So I on perfectly amicable terms, I quit. But I kept appearing in episodes just because it was fun to appear in episodes.
That's amazing. And how did you get into it with them at the start?
Nope. Sorry. Say it again.
That's okay. Jake and I like to talk at the same time, so it's very fun because you get to just pick who to answer. Yeah. And I have so many questions written, Jake, that I'm just ready to fire them and go and transition into them. So sorry, man. No. But it was just, how did you get introduced and involved with Rotor Riot to begin with?
Well, I got involved through Quad Camp. I used to be a classroom instructor, corporate stuff, but I really liked classroom instruction. And I wanted to do an in-person classroom instruction about FPV, Betaflight, build a quad. I had an idea. I had an outline written for a whole week-long class. And I heard that Rotor Riot was doing Quad Camp, which sounded very similar to what I had wanted to do. So I sent Chad Capra an email, and I was like, listen, here's what I wrote as an outline, and it's, I'd love to be a part of this, because the whole logistics of setting it up is something I'm not really good at. So for someone else to have made it happen, I was like, okay, whatever you're doing, I want to be a part of it. And then through Quad Camp, I got to appear in some episodes and became a cast member.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, big question for me. How on earth did you get so into FPV, and like what led you to get involved and be this passionate about it?
I mean, the same thing that everybody who's into FPV, I mean, it's just an awesome, awesome hobby, an awesome experience. And it just, you fly FPV and then you want to keep flying FPV. And then there are all these things that get in your way, and you just like try to overcome them one at a time. And eventually you start figuring things out. But that's just basically it.
Well, like, what was the first instance that got you into FPV itself?
Well, I mean, I was flying fixed wing planes. I was watching Flight Test, and Flight Test had some FPV content, and I liked the idea that you could fly a multi-rotor. Like, I had to go to a big soccer field to fly a fixed wing. I couldn't fly a fixed wing from my house. It's too tight. And I liked the idea that you could fly a multi-rotor in a tighter area, so I could fly at home without having to, like, go to a park. And I liked the idea of flying in proximity to objects. I really like those early Sharpoo videos and the early Rotor Riot videos and Flight Test videos and so forth. So, I mean, that's what got me motivated.
Okay. So in that, what motivated you to be the know-it-all?
I mean, that's just a personality defect, right? I just started answering questions. I just, saw people asking questions that I knew the answer to, and I started answering them, and just, one by one, right? I still do that. Just see people. If you see somebody asking a question and you know the answer, then it's, you tell them the answer and maybe help them out.
So, but what keeps you going? I mean, that's got to get tiring. I mean, I guarantee your inbox is just full of questions, full of all sorts of different remarks and everything. How do you just not go, nah, you know what, I'm done?
Well, sometimes you do. Sometimes you say, okay, it's time to take a break. But I just, the people who are asking me questions, there's somebody out there with a problem. And I know how frustrating it can feel to not be able to solve the problem. And it feels like it's a type of exchange where you can create a lot of, it's a very efficient kind of exchange, by which I mean, you get a lot more out of it than you put in. Like, if somebody asks me a question, it takes very little energy, especially as I've been doing it a long time, to try to give them an answer or move them closer to an answer. But if you can solve their problem, then that's a big benefit for them. So in some sense, it almost feels selfish not to answer the questions, at least the easy ones.
Definitely.
Well, how much time does it take you to, on average, to just produce one of your videos that you're making a week?
I'm pretty efficient at making the videos. I would say it might take as little as an hour to record a 15 or 20 minute video. There are some videos that are much more time consuming. Like, I've been working on there's a PID tuning method called the basement PID tune, and I've been working on that, and I've been working on it for like 2 weeks because I keep like it's a lot of recording, because you go out, you fly, you come back and you look at the data, you go out, you fly, and I keep running into these roadblocks. So that one is going to be just hours and hours. But I think a few hours. And then I have a guy who edits, he does like 95% of the edit, and then I watch the video
okay,
and I
that
tweak it a
makes
little
sense.
bit. Yeah.
I was wondering how you're producing so much and timestamps, because people have asked us to do timestamps on our interviews, and we just don't have the time. It would take us forever, especially if the show's 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
So every time you do it, I'm like, oh my goodness, how does this man
plan
this thing, record it all, edit it, timestamp it, and you reply to like almost every comment?
Yeah, I mean, for like a 20-minute video, the timestamps aren't too hard, because I'm gonna get the edit from Fabio, and then I'm gonna have to watch it through at least once just to check the edit and sometimes make little tweaks. So while I'm doing that, I write down the timestamps. I used to do all my own editing, and it was very, very time consuming. And I really appreciate the free time I get, such as it is, now that I don't have to do all my own editing. You have to spend like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours editing a video, upload, and then you have to sit down and record the next video. Is pretty time consuming, no doubt.
Oh yeah. Well, and then you're also answering people's Facebook questions, Patreon questions, Discord questions. Like, you're always doing something. I don't think anyone has ever no one has ever said I can't reach him or he takes too long. Everyone always says how fast you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually, if you email me, I'll be within a day or two. These days, I try and clear my inbox every day. I don't always succeed at that, depending on how the day goes, but I try and reply to as many as I can. Yeah.
Have you felt burnout from the hobby yet, or from editing? Specifically, John Coopy saying not editing would reduce your burnout, and that's good you're not doing as much, but he wondered if when you're doing all your review videos, if you're burning out from those.
Yeah, I mean, there is a point. I have reached a point in the past where I just wasn't interested in product anymore, which, if you think about it, the job of a reviewer, a really good reviewer, will be excited about a product. And in the same way that a person would be excited about the product if they bought the product. And then, without like getting stars in your eyes and glossing over, you would also be cynical about a product if there's bad things about the product, in the same way that a person who bought the product and then was like, oh, this is a piece of crap, right? But if you're just kind of like, oh, great, another flight controller, oh boy, well then you're not going to do a good review. So I have had like whole months where I was like, I don't want to review any more products. I'm done reviewing products. And I just make educational videos or tutorials or how-tos or flight videos. But people really want product reviews. Like, people like to watch product reviews and learn about products. So in some ways, product reviews pay the bills.
So going on to product reviews, me personally, I can use 2 different brands of motors that are the same KV, same stator size, whatever, and I can barely feel any difference. You know?
Yeah.
How are you really going about differentiating?
Well, you'll notice I haven't reviewed a motor in a long damn time.
Oh, right? Good call. Absolutely, good call.
So what I'll do is I will review, like when I reviewed the 4-inch long range builds. Okay, like all of them had a 1404 motor around, I think it was around 3800 kV, if my memory's correct. And so we'll say, look, if you're looking to make a 4-inch long range build, you want to get a 1404 motor with a 3800 kV. And by the same token, if there's a motor, like the first version of the Diatone Toa motors had these little thin spokes, and the spokes were breaking and the bell was coming off. Well, that's the kind of thing that you would make a note of. But like, you're 100% right that there are almost no motors that are distinct enough to be worth talking about on their own.
Yeah.
The FPV Cycle 5-inch is the first motor I've ever flown. Not ever. The first motor I've flown in recent memory where I was like, oh, holy crap, this thing is pretty impressive. And I made a video specifically about that motor because I thought it really stood. But you give me a 2207 or a 2306, what are you going to say about it? There's really very little to say about it. It's another motor.
And I'm not talking just motors. I mean, just about everything, in my opinion. Like, realistically, I personally don't notice the difference between an F7 and an H7. You know,
yeah.
Those
no, I agree.
I mean, as far as flight characteristics go.
No,
and stuff like
you're 100% right. I agree. Yeah, but again, I mean, especially as you get more steeped in the hobby, like you could look at a flight controller and go, oh boy, another flight controller. Yeah, it's an F7, has 5 UARTs, pit switch, big deal. It's just another flight controller.
Yeah.
But someone who is new to the hobby is like, hold on, whoa, what a pit switch? What's that? And you gotta not let your sort of cynicism almost, as a reviewer, you gotta come at it from a fresh perspective. It's tricky though, because there's you can't just rehash the same shit every time. So it's tricky to know sort of where to be on a product review. But I think you should usually serve the beginners because they're the ones who need it the most.
Okay.
That's my take.
Cool. No, absolutely. For me, it's kind of hard to even think about being a beginner anymore because I've been so far along in the hobby now that, I mean, the real big differences between back then now is it's so easy to set up a flight controller. They're all plug and play except for soldering motors. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the outlook on that.
Yeah. That's what's tough to keep it fresh is to, I mean, there's certain things like motors and ESCs where it's like, there is not very much new to say. I mean, like either the ESC is going to be durable or it's going to blow up. Other than that, what is there to say about an ESC for the most part? 50 amp rated, 60, 70, that's about it. And so I don't see a point in reviewing an ESC. You see Drone Mesh though, and Drone Mesh puts him on his oscilloscope and he measures the noise level. And it's like, oh, that's a contribution. But I'm not really set up to do that. But you certainly could get to a point where you're so cynical and you've seen it all before and nothing is interesting. And then what have you got to make content about? So you don't want to do that.
Analog or digital?
I mean, if I had to pick one to fly for myself, I would just fly DJI. It's great.
I mean, you've done videos with both, and I think that you're very non-biased in your reviews. You don't focus on one or the other. You're still doing, well, you're non-biased in the fact that some reviewers said, I'm only doing DJI now, and they won't even touch analog, right?
No, I mean, I try and remember. I mean, I personally would pick that, but I still have less than half of my quads on DJI just because I get quads and they have analog, especially now that we can't get the Vista camera or the Nebula Nano camera anymore. If I'm going to get a quad for review and they say, well, we're sending it with the Nebula Nano or the Caddx Polar, I'm like, nah, just send me analog. When you get that 120 FPS, then I'll take it. But a lot of people still fly analog, and certainly you don't want to just review DJI stuff. I smirked a little bit because, like, if you mention DJI, there's certainly people out there who will be like, DJI, they can't stand for you to even mention it or say anything good about it. And it's like, so if you appreciate you saying I'm non-biased.
I mean, there's always going to be people that think you are, but the fact is you still review both. And then like John even brought up, sorry, that's not the right one though. Hi, Stacy. John said, do you feel a lot of pressure to keep your reviews to like a high standard? Because all of them are so thorough, and he'd imagine there's times you want to just put something simple up.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. I do feel pressure to keep them to high standards. There definitely have been times when I feel like I have maybe rushed or overlooked something, and then maybe people don't get. I mean, people trust you to make a buying decision, and you certainly don't want to do harm to a product that isn't deserved. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure there. I mean, I think some of them are more thorough than others, but I try to represent the product fairly, and try and help people figure out if it's the right product for them.
Have you been able to review a Rotor Risco yet?
I don't know what that is. I think it's just a joke.
I know. I'm pretty sure it's actually a drone that he's built that he personally flies. I'm pretty sure it's Risco's setup. But I mean, it was pretty funny, and he makes some flippin' hilarious content. I'm sure you've seen some of his other ones, like the whatever Volts one. I could listen to that every day. That kills me. It's such a funny edit.
I didn't know it was a person. at first. I mean, no offense. Every time I say something like that, people are offended. Oh, you don't know who that was. I didn't realize that Rotor Riot was a reference to a specific person.
Well, Risco's the person, yeah.
Right.
Maybe you'll get to fly one eventually, or see
Maybe.
one.
I mean, the stranger things have happened. I don't mention the Rotor. The Rotor Risco has become a trope, so I don't mention it unless they super chat me.
Oh, that's clever.
Like the first time you do it, it's funny. The 10th time you do it, it's,
fair.
Now you got to just super chat. I mean, I just respect super chats that much.
That's fair, though. Are you looking for it, Jake? Do you not know of it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll find it, and then you can play it. It's pretty fun. While you're doing that, who is your favorite FPV pilot, Joshua? You can do race and freestyle separate. Some people choose to answer it as each one, or you can just pick one person.
Well, I think for freestyle, it always is so, like, I'll see somebody and they're very good. And I'm like, oh, that guy's good. And then you'll quickly move on to somebody else. So, I mean, if you ask me on a Tuesday, you'll get a different answer than if you ask me on a Friday. But lately I've been really digging Farouk and the Spang style stuff, just because it's so different from anything that people have done before. And I'm just so impressed with people who push. Like the first time I saw, I remember the first time I saw Sharpoo do a split S. And I was like, wow, I knew what a split S was from airplanes. It had never occurred to me that a multi-rotor could do a split S. And I was like, whoa, that's really cool. I didn't know you could do that. And then like the first time you see some of Johnny FPV's early juicy style stuff where he's just like flicking and ticking and you're like, wow, how is he doing that? And I had that same experience the first time I saw Farouk fly Spang. First time you saw Maddie and he's like going backwards with 65 degrees up tilt. And you're like, what is physics even doing now? I had that experience when I saw Farouk fly. I'm also really digging Slat right now. I think Slat's, I mean, a lot of people are digging him. Yeah, he's sort of blowing up.
I agree.
What impresses me most about him is that it's really easy to set up a cool line or a gap and fly it and then be like, cool, I got that. And then you kind of go around a tree and then you go back and you get a different line. But his stuff, it's just like never ending, just like gap, line. And it's like so many opportunities to mess up. It's really impressive.
I agree. I like Slat's flow, and I find he's very consistent and entertaining. Like consistent as in you're right. Like it's a consistent flight versus, some people it's hard to watch. Especially if the videos are like 6 minutes long and you have an attention span of a minute and a half, right?
Yeah, I like he's got a high density of attention, not like tricks per se, but a high density of points of interest.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like he flew through a gap and then he flew down the parking lot and maybe he did a little roll and then he went over a tree and then he came back through the gap. It's just like gap, stairwell, window. And it's really good. I wonder how much of that he plans versus how much is improvised, because if he's improvising it, then he has incredible reflexes.
Yeah, that's true. Or if we're just seeing the best of at the end of the days, or
I mean, no disrespect show me the best of.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, Steel has that's the same thing. The same thing Steel has. Steel has a real. I think with Steel it really is reflexes. That's my impression, is that a lot of it's reflexes, because I've seen Steel just show up at a site and just take out his quad, and on his first pack, I mean, he'll feel out of sight, don't get me wrong, but he'll just pull out stuff. It doesn't feel like he really like plans every single move. He's just pulling it off. It's really impressive. Reflexes and density of interesting stuff
that you love to fly with but hate to fly with at the same time.
I mean, I'd just rather be watching.
Yeah, honestly.
yeah, fair enough.
I gotta plan.
Wait, did you find what you wanted? Because I know you were looking at something.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna pull it up.
No, you're good.
No,
okay.
It's funny though.
What's your favorite setup, Joshua? Like out of all of the drones you've flown and own, and what's your go-to setup?
Yeah, I mean, I have the JB Perfect freestyle build, which is my current perfect, well, quote unquote, perfect setup. It's the QAVS JB Edition frame, the FPV Cycle 5-inch motors, my flight controller and ESC, Runcam Phoenix camera for analog, and then for video, I think I use the Rush Tank Solo, which is a really nice, powerful video transmitter. And then for the I fly almost all the control links, just because I have always trying different things. But I think my favorite control link, if I had to pick one right now, would probably be Ghost.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah. Because Ghost kind of does it all. Okay. So like with Ghost, you can dial it down to 50 hertz and get, you know, whatever, 60, whatever kilometers of range, more range than you'll ever need. You could dial it up to 500 hertz and get like less range, but like lower latency. And there's settings anywhere in between for where you want to be. Whereas like if you were to use Tracer, you get 250 hertz, but that's it. And if you want any decent range, you got to go all the way to 1 watt, and you're killing your controller battery. You're sucking it dry. You're raising the noise floor for everybody else in the 2.4 gigahertz band, and you just don't have the options. Express LRS, of course, is very, very interesting and exciting, but I think if I had to pick something to live with on a day-to-day basis, the convenience of Ghost, like with Ghost, you can firmware flash over the air. So you update your firmware. It's just like when you power up, it just says click to update firmware, and it updates it. Whereas with Express LRS, I got a bunch of different firmwares on my hard drive, and I got to remember which one I compiled and which one's for which receiver. And so I think I would pick Ghost if I had to pick one. But thankfully, I don't. So I have to try everything.
That's pretty awesome.
Or how many quads do you actually own?
I mean, you can see behind me, probably
a gazillion.
I probably have 20, maybe 25 that are like, I mean, that I actually fly on a regular basis, probably 5. Like I've got 2 switchbacks, 2 switchbacks as my race rigs, and then 2 QAVS as my freestyle rigs. I'd like to build more, but it's hard to get parts. I've got a handful of miscellaneous analog rigs, analog freestyle rigs that I use when I need to fly analog, and then just a bunch of other stuff that I hardly ever fly. The 4-inch shocker I fly a lot.
Mm-hmm. How many out on your drones? Because you are the know-it-all. You know how to tune with the frequencies. I mean, everything. You know how to get noise out of motors, all that stuff. How many people have said, "Hey, I want to try out your quad to see how different it is"?
That would be a big mistake. It's like, you know, the shoemaker's children have no shoes, or with the cobbler's children. Most of my quads are not really well tuned, because I'm just like I've got a pile of 4 or 5 quads in the closet that I need to fix. Right, they're not even flying, so like taking the time to at any given time I have 1 quad that I feel like I've maybe tuned half decent, and the rest of them I'm on whatever PIDs are on them, and I just make the best of it.
Eugene was just asking quickly, I'm pretty sure I already know this answer, but it is a quick question, is there any way to hear audio yet for those who use air units?
Nope. Not any. I mean, you could, in theory, put an analog video transmitter on there with a microphone, and then have an analog receiver and put the earpiece in. But there are so many reasons why that would be a terrible idea.
Do you find it helps you even to fly with audio?
I don't fly with a microphone on the quad, but I do find that when I fly far enough away that I can't hear the motors, it's weird. Like it's weird how much of the feedback from the motors you're getting when you hit the throttle, that you've hit the throttle enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's an advantage to flying with audio. It's just I usually can just hear the quad in my ears, and don't worry about it.
Rotor Village popped in, and they specifically wanted me to tell you how much I love my Yeet Mule frame. I don't know why he says it'll make you blush. Do you want to give us info on that?
So me and Blunty do the new product roundup every month.
Yes.
And so part of that is that we just go to each of the major stores and click on new products and just go through the list and like what's new this month at this store. And we came across this frame, the Yeet Mule, and we were like,
yep.
what the heck is the Yeet Mule? Never heard of this. First of all, it's kind of a weird name, like the Yeet Mule. Yep. But then the copy, the ad copy, I'm going to look it up. It's Yeet Mule. The ad copy had this tone, like let's see. I don't know, where is the 3D prints?
No, I want to see it. I honestly haven't been on the site to look for this stuff in a while.
It was like I have the copy was like the copy was like the legendary Yeet Mule now in a 7-inch. I was like, I've never even heard of you. What are you, legendary? Who are you? The Yeet Mule. Like it was talking about itself like it was such a big deal. Like, surely everyone, oh, the Yeet Mule V2 is here. Wow, the long-awaited Yeet Mule V2 now released. And Blenty and I were like, who is the Yeet Mule? Why do they think that everyone cares so much about them? And of course, I think I cut most of that out. I think
That's hilarious,
because like you can't joke about that stuff without like somebody getting pissed off and being offended.
I think the owner of Rotor Village was extremely chill and probably thought it was hilarious, honestly. Jake's got this page up. I think maybe is that it? What are you showing up? Oh, that's the big Yeet. Because there's the small Yeet, the big Yeet, and then the Yeet Mule.
So we were
honestly,
just like...
I've been flying the Yeet Mule since a prototype, and I love it. It's a solid frame, good for everything, well-rounded.
That's right. But I'm sure it's a great frame. We reviewed it. We put it in the new product roundup. I'm pretty sure I cut out.
Maybe we'll send you one, and then you can actually
most
try
of our dogging on it.
Yeah,
but it was just it was the silly name combined with the kind of grandiose tone of the product copy that we kind of.
That's pretty funny. The bottom of the frame does say Yeet, which a lot of people loved, and at the time it came out, Yeet was like the term. I mean, Jake uses that word every other day. He made a post the other day. He's like, my Jeep was yeeted. So like, it's a pretty...
I yeeted my Jeep.
Yeah. See?
Don't eat your Jeep. And certainly don't eat your quad.
Yeah, no, don't eat batteries.
I've yeeted a few quads.
I'm sure it's a fine frame.
What is your dream job?
I mean, isn't it being a YouTuber? Right?
You woke up and you were like, I'm going to grow up to be a YouTuber.
I mean, let's face it, if you could find a dream job that was, sleeping in every morning for $1 million a year, we probably would take it, right? But, I mean, in as much as you have to provide a useful service to people, what more could you ask for?
I'm just seeing here, Joshua. Oh, well, sure, AA. We'll go right to that topic. That was coming up anyway. Mm-hmm. Josh was actually here to discuss flow state with us, guys, which we're very privileged to have an early discussion here because it's not out yet, but we'll get to that in a second.
Well, I wish I could say that it was. I wish I could come on your show and say, hey, it's releasing, but that's not happening yet.
So do you want to give people kind of an update on where flow state's at right now and why it's not available to the public yet?
Yeah. So Flow State is a film that James Christensen and I, James Christensen is the owner, founder of SOG Productions, and he did most of the work on the film, the shooting, the editing, and so forth. So big credit to him. And I had some of the idea to make the film. I wanted to make a film about FPV. He and I met at a tiny whoop race in Gatlinburg, I think. And he had made a documentary before and gotten it on Netflix. And I was like, oh, that's fun. I've kind of wanted to make a film about FPV. But of course, I don't know how to make a film. I don't know how to get a film on Netflix. His documentary had been on Netflix. So he was like, yeah, no, I don't know how to do that. I was like, really? So we sat down and we talked about it. And he, like I said, did most of the actual legwork and the creative work, and I got an executive producer credit, which means I wrote a lot of checks. And now we've got this film, a documentary about FPV. I mean, the idea is that, number one, we love FPV, and we want people who are in FPV and love FPV to be able to see their hobby sort of immortalized on the big screen. In the same way that if you love skateboarding, you might watch Dogtown, or if you love surfing, you watch it, whatever. But also we would like to see it get onto like a streaming service or maybe in theaters if anybody goes to theaters anymore. And so that, like I watched this documentary about sushi. I don't know anything about sushi. It was fascinating. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if somebody who doesn't know anything about FPV watches a documentary about FPV and learns about it? So it is finished editing. It's finished shooting. We've had a couple private showings, and we are working on figuring out distribution.
So if anybody has any contacts at Amazon or Netflix or Hulu or anywhere, send Joshua a message. Let's get this to be a reality.
Yeah.
And it looks so well done, honestly.
That I don't have any audio. I don't know how to get the audio to play through stream.
That's okay.
OBS.
Yeah, they can. So the trailer is up on YouTube. The Flow State trailer. That's actually a very early trailer. It includes only footage from like the first 20% of the movie that we shot. So there's a lot more. There's a 2-hour edit of the movie. We showed in Atlanta.
Flying Brian says he saw it at Rampage and he absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm. So
and Vampire wants to know if you're going to create a second channel about sushi.
No, pizza. That would be my second channel. Pizza.
Ooh, you and Lexi could do a pizza channel. That would be awesome. I bet you'd have a lot of viewers.
Go ahead.
Is the flowstate.documentary.com the correct?
I believe that's the film's website.
Okay. I know there's a more updated, up-to-date one. It's on Vimeo.
Yeah, that's the film website as well. Did they do another trailer on Vimeo? Oh, I think they did. Is that the same trailer? I'm not sure. No, I guess it's not because the other one starts with steel. And that one is only 1 minute. Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we're right now where we're at is we've submitted it to several film festivals, about 10 film festivals, because apparently like Netflix and so forth, they'll pick stuff up from film festivals. That's where they'll shop basically. So if you can get an award, that's good. And obviously we'd love to short circuit that and just have somebody from, I mean, the goal ultimately would be to have worldwide distribution so that people all over the world can watch it. So, I mean, if Netflix wants to just write us a check, that would be great. Just call me, email me, or, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, HBO.
Disney, can you imagine Disney Plus?
Hey, you know what?
That'd be great. Get all the kids into it.
We would love
that. Is it PG?
It's PG.
How would it not be PG, Jake?
Well, Botgrinder is in it.
Fair point.
So,
I need to know more about. Brighton Till I Fly says, I just wish there was an outtake of Joshua smacking his pig's butt. What is that about?
Yeah, I have raised pigs before, and there's a technique for getting a pig to move somewhere when it doesn't want to move, where you put a big 5-gallon bucket on top of its head, and then it tries to back away from the bucket, and then you can. There we go. Jake's got it.
How did you find
that?
I put it in the middle of one of my videos as a commercial, and I joked and I said, "Hey, look, if this YouTube thing doesn't work out for me, I have other skills, but I'd love if you subscribed and joined my Patreon." So.
Oh, this is cool. I don't know if this is true. Our channel is not claiming this to be true, but Marcel Off Access says that a Shen drone squirt with a DJI and GoPro filmed actually part of the new Peter Pan movie. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you see a lot more of that. But everybody I know who's flown like a GoPro for a commercial, like the GoPro shot ends up being such a tiny, tiny part of the final product because directors of photography hate GoPros. They just don't think they look good. But there's still sometimes it makes it in.
I found this kind of funny, and I'm not bragging or anything like that, but I have more TikTok subscribers than you do.
I barely tried. I barely even tried. I've barely even tried to get TikTok followers. I mean, I do have a TikTok account that I post to occasionally.
I laugh at a lot of it regularly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What made you get into TikTok?
I mean, I just got into TikTok.
SoundCloud today. Do you even remember what's on your SoundCloud?
SoundCloud?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You have a story. I think it's called Daniel's Story, and it's about polenta. I think I
uploaded that for my mom to hear her
That's
grandkid.
Pretty cool. It's one of those things. You search Joshua Bardwell and it comes up.
Oh wow, so be it. Yeah, I think I recorded that for my son's grandma to hear, and I put it up. I guess it's public. Go figure.
It's a good story.
Wait, why are there like 2 different accounts with my name though?
I'm not knowing. I only found the one
that 2 different accounts with my name.
How many screens do you have?
I have 3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why there's 2 different people. I'm pretty sure that one of these accounts isn't really me.
No, of course not. Yeah,
or maybe I've accidentally created 2 accounts.
Now, what is your favorite FPV development since you got into the hobby? One thing that is your favorite thing they've done.
Well, favorite development since I got into the hobby. Oof, that's tough. I mean, obviously DJI was a big splash, right? That's probably the single biggest leap forward that FPV video has taken. Crossfire is another one. Crossfire was the first time when, I mean, there were long-range control links like Dragon Link before Crossfire, but they were complicated to use, expensive, and had enough downsides that people still flew Spectrum, FreeSky, FlySky, whatever. Crossfire was the first long-distance control link to, maybe it was a right time, right place thing, but I mean, they certainly deserve some credit for making the price affordable-ish and making it easy enough to use and making the performance advantages compelling enough that people started switching over. And of course now a lot of people still start flying on like a FreeSky or FlySky Spectrum link, but like a long distance link like a Crossfire, Tracer, Ghost, or Express LRS is like where you're just obviously going to end up. And that Crossfire was certainly the first step in that direction.
What are your feelings on everything that's going on with the FAA?
I mean, that's a tough question to answer because, the regulation is coming. I think a lot of people have their kind of head in the sand right now because we're still 2 or 3 years out from having to actually comply with remote ID. I think, I want to keep flying. I want people to keep flying. I think that people will. But I think it would be great if the Race Day Quads lawsuit meant some of this was rolled back. I think that's a long shot, but they seem confident. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly very worrisome, and but it's also very uncertain. So on some level, you're just going to keep doing what you're doing, and see how it plays out.
Jake, I don't know if you have any questions because I have a whole page still. So if you've got some, please jump in so I'm not hogging it all.
I have lots of questions. Once you put me on the spot, I just forgot them.
Okay. Well, I'll ask another one and then you can. How surreal is it to you, Joshua, that people fly your house and lift off?
I think it's great. I'm so impressed with the work that the Lugus team did in modeling the house. People might think that you just like scan it in or something. It was weeks of hand work to do it. I mean, they got the basic details from like a public topo map, but like I sent them measurements of various things and photos, and it was just so much hand work to build it, and they got it so right. Like when you fly it in the simulator, people say, "Oh, it feels really small." It feels just the right size to me. It really is. They did a great job modeling it. the first time I flew it, I was just like, holy crap, nope, that's what it feels like. So cool. It's really cool and a real privilege.
Now, is it your favorite sim, or do you have a different sim that's actually your favorite?
If I want to just fly for fun, I usually fly liftoff. If I want to practice racing, I fly Velocidrone. And of course, Velocidrone has Velocidrone Combat, which is really, really fun.
I've heard good things about that, but I haven't done it yet.
It's pretty fun, yeah.
All right.
Vamp says, yeah, it does seem small, but it is your house. Cole Anderson was just flying.
I asked them to put the boundaries of the level at the edges of my property line because I didn't want people, if they came over and fly my house in real life, to like fly over to my neighbors and be like, oh, there's a house there. So I was like, put the boundary. People are like, why can't I fly over the fence? I'm like, yeah, no.
I think that's actually really smart. And the reality is that's the space you have to fly.
It's true. So yeah.
If that's what you're flying in, that's what you're flying in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you are a huge part of the community, obviously. Even me, I shouldn't say even me, but especially me, when I am looking for a problem to be solved, I look to you. Now, a lot of the community tries to get help in many different ways, shapes, and forms, one of which is like, for instance, Facebook. Hey, how do you solve this issue? And a lot of people get a lot of flack for asking simple questions. Yeah, there may be simple questions, but people give asshole remarks. It doesn't matter what the question is, whether it's how to bind your radio or how to solder. What would be your response to somebody being a dick like that?
I mean, I don't think there's no reason to do that, right? There's no reason to do that. Just walk on by. Just keep going. You know, you don't have to respond negatively if you can't respond helpfully. That's what I would say to that. You know, there's nothing more unhelpful than just Google it, right? Like, I mean, sure, you can Google things, but some people, you know, there are other ways of getting help and they're all perfectly valid. There's this idea that because like the Facebook algorithm chose to show you a post that you're like it's creating this imposition on you. And then how dare you take my valuable attention, you know, and it's just like, just keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. It takes more effort to type a negative comment, especially half the time it's like a negative paragraph. You could have answered the person's question in half a second or just not said anything.
Yeah, just do something helpful.
How do you keep it so positive when people ask you the same questions? And it's obviously going to be multiple.
I love it when people ask me the same question that I have an answer ready to go. In fact, I have some keyboard macros for common answers. And really? It's great because like if I know I can give you a valuable answer and create value for you with, as you know, I just boop, enter, right? Now, like I talked about efficiency, right? I don't mean efficiency as in I'm just going to get you out of my inbox as fast as possible, because that's not. But if I can create value for you by helping you solve a problem or moving you closer to a solution, the faster and easier I can do that, the better it is, right? The more value I can create for other people with the amount of time that I have in the world. So if 100 people ask me, like one of the most common ones is like when you arm the quad and it boop, pops up and disarms because like a motor's spinning the wrong direction. So I have a copy paste for that, which is like the 5 things you need to check and exactly how to check them. If 100 people asked me that every day, I'd be clear my inbox in 10 minutes because I just copy paste the same answer. So I don't mind the repetitive ones. And I don't mind the simple ones. I think that it's a privilege to have people coming to you, asking you for help. I mean, I say that as someone who has turned that into a career, but there were, I didn't monetize my channel for like, I think about 3 years. I didn't have a Patreon for longer than that. And so I was doing it for a long time. I don't know why, just because, I guess I like to feel smart. But yeah, I don't find that part of it difficult at all. No.
Double A wants to know if you're throwing or hosting any events this year or going to any.
I will be the first week of September. I'll be out on the Black Rock Desert at the event that would have been Burning Man, but isn't because it's been canceled. But other than that, I don't have any. I'll be at the GQ in Knoxville on the 28th of August, trying to set a good time for the. I probably will not go to nationals, but I will go to the GQ and hang out with the local Knoxville community. Won't be having any events at my place though. No, it's a pretty weird time to have big events. So I have in the past, but.
Brighton says he loves your show with Blenty. It's super informative. Marcel's pretty funny. He said when he asks Siri, she just tells him to go ask Joshua Bardwell.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Siri.
Yeah, and Bam's like, how do I fix my Hero 8 that won't turn on? Obviously, just kidding.
GoPro Care. Take it to Best Buy.
What are your top 3 tips for someone who's just starting in the hobby?
The number one tip for someone getting started in the hobby is practice in the simulator before you fly a real quad, because you will lose your quad or crash it or break it. It'll be a complete waste of time. Start in the simulator, and I'd say minimum like 5 or 10 hours in the simulator, I think, for most people. Like if you're just a whiz kid and you just start and pick it up quickly, I'm not saying no one could, but I think most people, you need to be able to like take off and fly and turn and like have some semblance of control. I'm not saying you need to be able to like shoot gaps, but you need to be able to sort of keep the quad under control, because there's a thing that happens when you first start flying where it gets away from you and you're like, what do I do? You don't know how to get it back. And then you either have to dump it or it flies away and you lose it. And that's just a waste of time and money. So start in the simulator. If you can hook up with a community, it's extremely valuable to have other people, because there are answers to questions that you can get much easier from a person who's there with you. And it's just really encouraging to have somebody else to talk to and see them fly and get tips from. I don't know. Third one, I guess if you're going to do a build, right? If you're going to do your first build, find a build tutorial. Don't try and just buy a handful of parts and figure it out. Ideally, find a build tutorial that somebody else has done and follow them along. So at least your first build, someone is saying, put this wire here, put this wire here. And then at the end, you're likely to have a quad that'll fly. I guess those are 3 tips.
I would even add to your last one. What, Jake?
In that instance, he means go check out his page, because he's got like all the tutorials for
for builds.
I have a few.
I was going to say, to add to that last point, I run Ontario FPV. That's my group. And there's a ton of people, and we try and make it like a safe, welcoming community. And the number of people we've been seeing recently that are getting builds made for them by someone in the community that has no clue what they're doing. And they're building these horrible builds that don't fly, don't work. They're telling us they're following your videos, but they're obviously not, because they're soldering things completely wrong. And so I would definitely add to your point, just make sure you know who you're going to, and make sure you kind of check out the person and a bit of their resume per se, and at least look at their builds and make sure it's at a certain quality before you pay them to build your drones.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're looking for a pre-built drone, there are very good bind and flies. Like obviously if there's someone in the local community who's building, then it certainly makes sense to support them. But honestly, the price and value of a bind and fly these days, well, it's not as true as it used to be. It used to be able to get a very, very good bind and fly for $200. And like the iFlight Nazgul, I added up the parts for the iFlight Nazgul. It was a year ago, $25 cheaper to buy a bind and fly than to buy all the parts individually. And that was before shipping. Okay.
Wow.
So you could there was no reason at that point. How is anyone going to build one cheaper or better? Because it's not like that's just a cheap, crappy quad. It's a very good quad. These days you see similar bind and flies creeping up towards $250, $260, $270, even $300. I think due to the electrical components being more expensive. So a hand build might make more sense, but it definitely has to be good quality. And it's just so hard for somebody who's building them at home to beat the level of efficiency and cheap labor that you get when you buy something made in a factory, especially a factory in China where the labor is pretty cheap. So like that guy takes 2 hours to build it. Like let's say he spends $150 in parts. He gets just the cheapest parts you can get. And then he spends 2 hours to build it. Was he going to charge you to build it? What's a fair rate for his time? Well, I mean, a fair rate for building quads is $40 or $50 an hour. Most people would not build that much if they were just working out of their living room. But even if they built $25 an hour, so now you're paying what, $210 for $150 cheap quad made by somebody in their living room. It's a tough sell.
How long does it take you to build a quad?
Am I recording the build or am I just building it myself?
Just building it. Get her done.
A couple hours, 2 or 3 hours. If it's one I've built before, like the third time I build the same quad, I'm a lot faster. The first time I build something with new parts, 2 or 3 hours.
And how lucky is it that these guys all have these games or flight sims that they can play with rather than having to fly their quads into trees or into the golf course next to the park, How lucky are they?
Yeah, I mean, the simulator is a very, very valuable tool and a very fun way to, things like Velocitron and Combat are super fun. It's a great tool for practicing when you can race against other people, race against ghost slaps and stuff. It's really, really valuable.
You should make a build simulator.
That's interesting. There's like PC build simulators, concept. Aren't there?
There are.
Yeah, and if you do the Oculus has all kinds of simulators too, right? That you can play and do.
That's interesting. I don't know how popular it would be because FPV is a very, very narrow, is a very small field. You could practice building a quad in VR, putting all the parts together. Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be pretty.
It'd probably be too much work.
Yeah, it'd probably be too much cost and work to actually establish for, like you said, the low market reach essentially, right? But if a movie like Flow State comes out, the hobby could blow up. We could have even more.
Because you'd have to model all the parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be a lot of work for some 3D artist to model all the parts.
That's true.
But that's an interesting idea.
What's your goal for the hobby?
I mean, I just like flying. I like making content. So I would like to just be able to keep doing that. I don't know whether it's necessary for the hobby to get bigger or more widely accepted. Obviously, there are advantages to the hobby getting bigger. As the hobby gets bigger, there's more money in it. The more money in it, there's more cool things you can do that can only be done with money. Like I like to point to the DJI FPV or the Fat Shark Bite or this Orca digital system, which they say they're working on, but nobody has seen it yet. All of these things cost money. In the case of DJI, they were able to subsidize the development through the sale of their camera drones, right? This was a drop in the bucket for them. In the case of Sharkbite, the HD0 system was not created specifically for FPV, and it's a low latency wireless video system that turned out to be suitable for FPV with appropriate, obviously they've modified it for FPV. And then with Orca, obviously they haven't made any public statements, but the belief is that they are focusing on other forms of telepresence than FPV. Things like inspections or, I don't know, diffusing bombs. Things where you don't want to see things, but you don't want to be near them. Mm-hmm. But the bigger FPV gets, the more money comes into it and the more interesting developments can come. The flip side is that the bigger it gets, sort of, some of the ways the things that make it cool kind of get sucked out of it. But I think that the cool people will always be there. When skateboarding went mainstream, there were still, hardcore people who were not interested in the brands and the culture and were just doing their thing. And those people exist in FPV and they'll continue to be here even if it becomes mainstream. But Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Can I ask you a question on a little bit different subject?
Sure.
I'm sure you're probably part 107. I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Right. A big part of part 107 is going to be safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I recently saw some posts. I held my tongue because of I'm not going to get in the middle of some weird drama or anything like that. But what's your view or opinion on somebody flying near or around people versus somebody who's flying intoxicated, whether it's drugs or alcohol? What's your thing? Is there really a difference toward any of that?
Well, I mean, there's obviously we're not talking about what's legal. We're talking about like a moral judgment. I think that the key thing about risk is that people have the ability to opt in to the amount of risk that they're taking. So if you're flying over people who are just like pedestrians on a street, then I personally wouldn't feel good about that. I mean, that wouldn't be something that I would feel comfortable doing because those people didn't opt into potentially having a quadcopter fall on their head. I flew at a burn once, and I flew around people, and I felt like that them having come to the burn, there's a certain inherent level of risk of being there, that the risk of dropping a quadcopter on their head was not the riskiest thing they were going to be exposed to that day. And that by being there, even they had sort of tacitly accepted that level of risk. That was a call I made. Um, but if you're going to fly intoxicated, and you're somewhere where you're not going to hit anybody or hurt anybody, then I don't think doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with that. If you're flying around people or could hit people who didn't opt into it, then personally I wouldn't be okay with that.
Gotcha.
I'm kind of replying to Zach's question typing. I guess I could just speak now because it's a long answer, but there's a bit of a small talk going on about, the more people we bring into the hobby, then there's going to be more negative people, more regulation. I'm kind of saying in the chat, my view is that if we can educate the newcomers, it's more positive members of the community and it's more voices against regulation, which, look at gun legislation, right? The fact is, if you have a lot of voices, the government has a little bit less power. And so I do believe that we need more people in the hobby to at least have a voice with each other because we're going to be more united as a group. But I also think that we need to reach out to the newcomers and help educate them and really just help them along the way that we should be doing anyway, so that they're positive members of the community and not negative. And Zach was asking how we should maybe go about getting the public to accept the hobby even.
Well, like the Flow State documentary. Yeah, no.
You're not wrong, though. It's very true.
You want to see the positive. The thing to keep in mind is that there's always going to be positive and negative aspects of anything. And in the beginning, when something is small, like when FPV was small and there were, almost nobody was doing it. There were a couple of YouTubers, the distinction between good and bad didn't really matter because no one was there to care and make a judgment. If somebody made a YouTube video that you didn't like, you just there was no community to get out their pitchforks and go after that guy. It was just individuals. And I'm not saying that community didn't exist because obviously when when there's a small group of people, it still can be a community, but there's sort of a critical mass that a community reaches where suddenly then it feels like that we need to police, like that guy has crossed a line and we're going to condemn him or we're going to stick up for him. And when the community is smaller than a certain size, that doesn't happen. Everybody just sees themselves as individuals. So this idea that as the community's gotten bigger, there are more sort of bad actors, morons, idiots, uneducated people doing dumb things that threaten the hobby. I think that a lot of people did the same dumb things when the hobby was smaller and just nobody noticed or nobody cared. But there's some truth to it because, you talk about the guy who lost control of his DJI and it landed at McCarran Airport It just flew until it, into controlled airspace. That kind of thing didn't happen when it was small, just because there were so many fewer people there. And it's just a fact that the bigger your hobby gets, the more the public gets into it. There will be some people who will love it and will dig into it and want to do it right. And there are some people who will just not give a crap and will be like, oh, cool, I got a drone. Look at Casey Neistat, right? Is he like a drone guy? He likes flying drones. He likes drones. He doesn't feel to me like I am a drone pilot. I care about safety. I care about drone culture. He just likes flying drones. He thinks they're cool. And he does dumb shit stuff with them sometimes.
But that being said, though, also, like, a lot of folks, and I say this lightly because a lot of people are looking at the FPV community like we're the problem. I just recently met a guy who trains falcons, for instance. And what he does is he takes this big drone that has just a GPS hold its position, and he flies it up. And he sits there and he openly tells me that he flies that thing 1,000 feet up and just lets it sit there. So it's not just FPV guys. It's guys who are doing other things that are really getting into it. And that's one thing that needs to be emphasized. It's not just FPV. It is.
But I think it's really, really harmful when members of, let's say you've got this subculture and it's sort of threatened, and within the subcultures there are subcultures. When members of the threatened subculture point fingers at each other, it's destructive. So when the AMA guys, like it or not, they're in the same umbrella as everybody else flying, because the FAA has defined the umbrella. They're going to regulate all of us together. You may not like it. It's a fact. The DJI, the Casey Neistats of the world, they're under the umbrella. Everybody who flies remote control aircraft under 55 pounds or whatever is under the umbrella. So now every bit of energy we spend saying it's your fault, if you hadn't done this, this wouldn't have happened, is wasted energy that we could be spending actually trying to make a difference. That just has to be acknowledged.
That was just part of my chair. Sorry.
I just think it's wild that there's so many different things out there. Even just a falcon trainer can be breaking these rules and technically ruining the hobby per se. Yeah.
I mean, but you're never going to be able to educate everyone. There's always going to be people doing dumb stuff. So you can try to, not everybody wants to be educated. I mean, there's people who drive drunk. You're not supposed to do that.
And they've known forever that you shouldn't do it, but...
So there's always going to be people out there, and you just have to accept that and try not to get the baby thrown out with the bathwater.
I've never
I was going to see, there was a couple... Oh, there was a very random question up here for you, but I think it's a fun one. Where'd it go? What is your favorite snack?
Yes.
My favorite snack.
I love questions like that, because the fact is, you answer FPV questions all day. So let's get into the personal stuff.
What is my favorite snack? Like, what have I'm trying to think of.
I guess like if someone offered it to you, you would never say no, right? Like it's like something you have to eat.
Like a snack though, not like a meal.
Like what do you sit down at your bench and just snack on?
Like I feel like Doritos are pretty high on the list. They're pretty good. I don't eat a lot of candy. Like if you buy a bag of like those mini Snickers, Milky Way, Almond Joy, I mean I'll eat that. I really like, you know what, Corey had these Twizzlers, like raspberry lemonade straws. I will just kill. He like opens the bag and takes one out, and like 10 minutes later, I've eaten the whole bag right out from under him. Those were good. Those were good.
That's funny. Vic was asking if you counts. Vic was asking if you still wear like the kilts.
The sarongs. Yeah, for
Wrong
sure.
story.
I recently switched because sarongs are fine, But they're very light fabric, and they tear really easily, especially if you're like doing farm work. And my wife started buying these Turkish towels, which are, well, I mean, they're like towels. They're bigger, and they're heavier than like a rayon sarong, but they're not as big and fluffy like a cotton towel. And I like them a lot.
Okay, Blind Brian brought up a big one here. What is your position on bagged milk?
He's not going to know the reference
that's
because
a Canadian
Bardwell
thing.
doesn't watch our shows.
Oh,
that's a Canadian thing,
he
though.
Apparently knows it. He apparently knows it.
Yeah, they have bagged milk in Canada.
You can get it in America.
You can get bagged milk in America? I didn't know that.
So the reason this always comes up is because I'm Canadian and we buy bagged milk. And so this came up on season, 1, I think, of our show?
Yep.
And definitely season 1. Yeah, and so it always comes up.
I have no position on bagged milk. I mean,
when you hear somebody say milk bags, what do you think, though? You don't think
God. We don't call them milk bags. We call it bagged milk. We actually don't even call it that. We just call it milk.
milk jugs is no better, is it?
Right? Okay. Thank you.
You really can't win this one.
Thank you. That's my response forever now. Milk jugs is no better.
So what are the positive things that you've been learning from TikTok lately?
What have I learned from TikTok lately? I'm trying to think of one. I have like learned something. I remember. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Now I don't remember what it was though, so I guess it wasn't that useful. I've learned that birria tacos are very good. That's what I've learned from TikTok. TikTok loves birria tacos.
I don't have TikTok, so I don't know about any of this stuff.
Don't get it.
People send me videos, and I'm like,
that's like saying I haven't started smoking yet. Yeah, just don't.
I've actually never smoked a cigarette, and I don't plan on
good.
it.
Don't get TikTok either.
Just no need.
TikTok is like China's way of reducing America's productivity.
It's brilliant. It really
it's like, I'm going to bed 2 hours later.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about TikTok. They've got this, after you've been scrolling for like 45 minutes, TikTok has an official channel that will pop up, and it's some dude, and he's like, hey, I know you've been scrolling for a while. Take a break. And you're just like, get the fuck out of here. And it's like, but now they've done their due diligence when people are like, TikTok
they're not liable.
Right.
That's amazing. See, I do like Instagram stories or Facebook, and a lot of the times they just are TikToks. But they don't even tell you, hey, you've been on here too long. Usually Richard and I will throw our phone and be like, oh my God, we've been on here way too long. Yeah. And we realize that it's, you fall into the pit of the interwebs.
No, I'll tell you, the TikTok algorithm is the best. It's the best algorithm at finding content that you want to see. It's scary good.
It is ridiculous.
It's better than Instagram. It's better than YouTube. And I know why, too. It's because, like, a YouTube video is 3 minutes to 20 minutes, right? Whereas a TikTok is at most like 60 seconds. Now they have 3-minute ones. So as you're swiping, TikTok is getting so much more information about what you do and don't like that they can just get this. They can make such good suggestions.
That's a good point. They're getting way more data in a way shorter time.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, credit to TikTok.
You should follow me on TikTok. We can be follow buddies.
Yeah. Okay.
Ouch!
He's so excited.
Okay, right on.
Randy says no cigarettes, no TikTok.
I may already be following you. I follow FPV people randomly. Like, what's your
Big Sky FPV?
Let's see if I follow you. We'll see if you follow me.
I hope it's a no, because that'll be hilarious. I hope he doesn't follow you. That happened on our show.
It just means that the algorithm hasn't shown me your content yet.
Any last question, guys? Nope. We're going to be wrapping it up here in about.
But I am now. Now I'm following you.
There you go.
You do follow me.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you got to work on your thumbnails. Your thumbnails are trash.
I'm doing the thumbnails.
Your thumbnails are trash.
Oh,
sorry.
Teach me your.
Mike Driscoll is saying that we should be asking you about reverse pitch. An inverted pitch.
I have a rant about inverted pitch.
I know, it went out this morning. I think everyone should watch it.
People take that stuff way too seriously too. It's like can you tell it's like it's a rant on a live stream. It's like if you're doing a bit, okay? And there's some truth to the bit, but you have to acknowledge that you're doing a bit. right? You know,
Yeah.
so people are like, that's pretty mean. That's mean. He was just trying to, I was like, it's just a bit. Take it easy.
You got to put a disclaimer in your description and be like, this is
Like,
satire.
just figure it out. Figure it out. I'm not going to spoon feed it to you.
Maybe it's okay to shake it up a little bit. Why not?
Yeah.
Zach saying someone else.
But not by inverting pitch. That's not okay.
Brighton says, do shaking batteries make a difference?
Nope. But that was a great April. That was a Final Glide April Fool's prank from years ago. Yeah,
hilarious.
Final Glide put up a video on Rotor Riot. It wasn't just him, but I think it was his idea that shaking batteries makes them last longer. The whole video is him doing this with his batteries. And he said, no, it really works. Ask Bardwell. And I got so many questions of people asking if it really worked.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, it kind of wasn't, though.
I mean, it's a great prank, though.
It is.
Like,
it's
that
a good
is
prank.
A good prank. It doesn't really harm anybody, but it's I'm sure spamming your inbox in a lot of places.
It got a little old. It was a good prank, though.
What was your worst moment in FPV?
I almost hit a jogger with a drone once. That was I was flying at a park, and I was the last one to leave, and I was just like flying one more pack, and I came over a building and kind of split-assed and was going to go back through the building, and somehow there was a jogger there. I don't know where she came from. And my spotter, who I totally had, didn't warn me about it.
Sometimes those spotters, they just don't seem like their eyes are as good as the drones, you know.
But I've thankfully I missed her, but it wasn't through any skill of my own. It was pure chance that I didn't hit her, just being her.
That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was like, I landed, and I went, and I was like, hey, I didn't mean to fly that close to you. She didn't even notice. She had her headphones on.
They never noticed. I hit a house once, totally not my fault. I have witnesses. Someone plugged in on me, lost all control, and it flew into a house where the people were all in their backyard. Nobody knew. They didn't have a clue that it happened.
Yeah, but it was just pure luck that I didn't hit her. And if I'd have hit her, I'm sure I would have injured her. And I was like, okay, well, that's my last pack for today.
Sometimes you get lucky. Because I know when we were chasing dirt bikes, Rich hit the guy jumping with his drone and literally landed in the guy's lap, just disarmed right away and rode the bike down the ramp, right?
Yeah.
So it just depends on, I think, your reflexes too. Like if you saw her, you could have disarmed right away, and even if you hit her, it probably wouldn't have hurt as bad.
It was too late. It was over before I knew it. It was that last minute.
Ever started a fire with a drone?
I mean, I've had batteries light off, but I've never started anything. Knock on wood.
Did you know they're filled with confetti?
Batteries? Yeah, no. You just have to poke them with a knife, get it out, get the confetti.
So I've seen,
Disclaimer,
if you go to Reckless FPV's video, Reckless FPV was discharging a bunch of lipos, right? Discharging for disposal. And I've never seen this happen, but I guess it was just dead, but it was charged, and he literally just grounded it out, and it exploded literal confetti everywhere. And I've never seen a lipo do that, but it's pretty amazing. Like usually they just hiss and pop and fizz and smoke. No, this exploded. It's all on video. You can see it. And it's just confetti flying everywhere.
I can't imagine which part of the battery turned into confetti. But
I think it's in between the cells. They're like little black squares.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jake can find the video in like a few seconds while we're doing this quickly. They keep asking, have you ever tried milk bags? You said it's a Canadian thing. I think we went over that, right? Yeah, you said it's a Canadian thing.
No, I only know about that in Canada. I don't think that milk bags exist in the USA.
Oh, Guitar FPV said he was shooting on his ski hill and his prop exploded over the lift. Luckily, it didn't hit anybody because it was so cold. Over here, it's -23. That's Celsius, though, so that would be like, I don't know. I have no idea what that is.
Cold as shit. That's what that is.
I think it merges actually at Fahrenheit at like -10 or something, right? So it's probably the same in Fahrenheit.
Still cold as shit.
What's the guy's username again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Reckless FPV. I think the video is called Exploding Lipos. Where'd this question go? This is a good question. Oh, here. Zach wants to know, what is the difference between 6S and 4S in your opinion?
I mean, 8.4 volts? Is that the answer?
Do you find, I think he wants more specific. Do you find it as an asset to change, or are you just sticking to 4S, or do you fly 6S?
I fly with 6S on most of my quads right now. Hang on. I fly 6S on most of them, just because the stuff I kept getting sent for review was 6S. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to 6S. I think that the performance difference is small but real. You can, especially that towards the end of the pack, you don't feel sag the same way on 6S as you do on 4S. I mean, we could argue about why, but I feel like 6S, you feel the sag less as the voltage gets down, and then the battery tanks and it's dead. So when I first started flying 6S, I killed packs repeatedly because I didn't feel the sag. The flip side is that 6S is more likely to blow your ESC, just because I think that, like, let's say you've got an ESC and the FETs are rated to 30 volts. Well, if you're flying 6S, you're at 25 volts and your voltage spikes are way, way higher. Whereas if you're flying 4S, you're a lot further from that threshold, so your voltage spikes are going to be lower. But I'm pretty much 6S. But I don't think there's as much of a difference as people say there is.
There's the confetti explosion here. Jake just found it. We'll put him on full screen.
Yeah, I see. Those are definitely parts of the battery. Yeah.
And it's just complete. I literally, it's funny if you hear the audio. Jake can probably hear it. But in the background, I'm making like the stupidest face. And I literally go, oh, like I freaked out. I was like, because I just see something exploding beside me. And I was not comfortable standing next to Reckless anymore as he continued his battery adventures. But it was hilarious. What is one of the most fun things you've ever done with a drone?
I mean, there have been some amazing Rotor Riot shoots. You got to chase dirt bikes, gotten to fly some really cool buildings in Puerto Rico. Just got to power loop the Free Fly Alta. That was pretty cool.
That was a really cool video.
Yeah. I mean, it's all up there on the YouTube, though.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the bone drone, not drone bone, the bone drone.
Yeah, the bone drone
was probably one of my most favorite. I know you weren't in it, unfortunately, but that was definitely one of my favorites. So flippin' funny. Like, so funny. I'm excited. I'm building one. I cannot wait for it to get here. Sean's sending me the frame, and I am so stoked. I have the motors. I have everything. I just need the frame.
Because it's just a quad that's been squished down, though, right?
Yeah, essentially, it's just he cut the frame so it's a bone shape, and then you mount one top, one bottom. And he said that it was super easy to set up, so I'm hoping I can do it. But it's just so fun to see it flying. Like, the stupid shit it does, and the fact it actually flies, right? And for me, it was, I have motors sitting.
Just the novelty of that it flies at all, right?
Yeah, the novelty, 100%. Flying Brian says he couldn't fly or ride or go in any of these colds. I think we're going to be ending the show here, guys, unless you have any last questions. We'll give a minute for the chat delay here.
That face, though.
Gotta get that thumbnail action. Am I right?
I see that.
My thumbnails are so garbage. I need to get better at them.
Yeah, I need to do that, don't I? I'll work on my thumbnails.
Those thumbnails. If you need faces.
Yeah, I was told YouTube looks for faces in the algorithm, right? For thumbnails.
I don't know.
I was told it was smiling faces, actually.
That people like faces. People like smiling faces. Yeah.
That is very cool.
I'm trying to go back and look at your wall.
Well, I am going to quickly remind everyone that in half an hour, Between Two Props is coming on the air. That's Chad Miller, Gravy, and a couple others. They are talking about the new Emu Flight 4.0 update, as well as the KISS H7, and they're also going to be going over some new FPV news, and obviously they're just a bunch of chill people, so check them out. I don't have better internet than Reckless. This is an illusion. Trust me. Usually it's bad. I have turned off every single Wi-Fi device in this house that is not this laptop. So that's what's working for me. But I can't even do my work stuff from home. It's bad internet here.
At least you have bags of milk.
Right? At least I get bulk milk.
Yes.
I don't even, technically it's not even bulk. I'd have to buy so many bags of milk to have bulk milk. It'd be ridiculous.
You just need one big bag, really.
They don't sell jugs for it. See, that's the whole funny part is we buy milk jugs for our bags. And that's what I find the Americans have issues with is everyone's like, oh my God, it's not sealed. It's a cut open bag in your fridge. Isn't that gross? Doesn't it get contaminated? And then they're like, but you're putting it in a plastic jug. And yeah, I don't know.
Wait. But you get it in a bag, which like, I guess saves you from the packaging. What's the advantage of the bag?
So the advantage of the bags is you get 3 liters, which is, I don't know how many gallons.
I mean, but you could just buy a gallon of milk. You could buy 2 gallons of milk. You buy however much milk you want.
0.79 gallons. No, that's the most, like, that's the largest quantity of milk we can buy is in bags. Otherwise,
okay, so now you have a gallon of milk in a bag, which you're then going to put into a pitcher. Why not just buy it in a jug?
Which we usually drink within a day or two, and then we cut open the next bag.
But why not just get it in a jug?
Because then I'd have to buy a jug. First of all, we don't have jugs. We have cartons and we have bags. Okay. I guess some stores have jugs, but they come really small. They're like convenience stores.
I'm just saying, why did Canada decide to put the milk in bags in the first place? What's the advantage?
I don't know where it started. I've just had it my whole life.
It's more efficient to transport. Bet that's it.
I would disagree because we have to be careful carrying them home that they don't get popped. Because if someone punctures it, then you have milk
in a truck.
Milk bags.
Why does Canada have? That's the first. You start searching for why does Canada. The very first result is why does Canada have bagged milk?
Google's just listening to us. Oh my God, it really is.
There's no good reason.
The third one is bad.
There's no good reason. You all are just weird.
It's just, larger packaging. 3 bladders adding up to 4 liters. So there we go. It's 4 liters. Yeah, it's not rigid like a bottle, so they say it's easier, but that doesn't make sense because we still put it in a jug. So, I don't know. And Vic, I don't drink that much milk. My partner drinks a lot of milk. He can drink a bag a day.
All right.
Yeah, Marcel says they don't have it in Vancouver. I'm not trying to sell the milk bags, guys. Everyone's like,
you guys just never figured out milk jugs.
No. I think it's a plastic issue. I think maybe the milk bags. So Trudeau banned single-use plastic as of whatever year. So I think that we're going to be either losing milk bags or it's going to become like a recyclable plastic.
All right.
So.
All right.
I don't know. And it's so funny to us that you guys think it's so weird. And there's a lot of Americans that tell me they have it. Especially, I think, like New York, I think they have it. Yeah. Yep.
Bag
certain
milk
states.
No one in America has bag milk. I'm sure of that.
They definitely do. They've showed me it. They come in the chat usually. They're like, we have that. What are you talking about? You're not special.
Why do some Americans are occasional? Why doesn't the U.S. have milk in bags? Asks Quora. Actually, the United States does have milk in a bag. It's common in the upper Midwest states like Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Alrighty.
Yeah. Me not knowing.
I don't know about that.
What an interesting topic to end the show on. These damn milk bags always come back around. Yeah. Flying Brian says now they're going to be in paper bags because it's single-use plastic.
Glass is recyclable but breakable. So.
I wish we had glass bottles again with the milkman, but they would be unfeasible for the amount of people that get milk.
Just stop drinking milk. It's silly. Milk's dumb. Let me ask you this. I
actually have almond milk in here today.
Hey, we're going to take a cow. We're going to take its tit, and we're going to squeeze it. And whatever comes out, you're going to put it on your cereal and drink it. You down? No, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
Whose idea was it?
They do it with goats and all kinds of things.
Who was the first guy to look at a cow? To look at a baby calf suckling at a cow's udder and go, hey, move over.
You know what?
Let me get one of those.
Let's figure that out, too. Why not? Yeah. We're looking up all this random shit. Who decided to drink cow milk?
All right.
I gotta see. Who decided to drink cow milk first? Before about 10,000 years or so ago, hardly anybody drank milk, and on rare occasions, the first people to drink it were early farmers and pastoralists in Western Europe, some of the first humans to live with domesticated animals. So yeah, literally someone in Europe looked at a cow nursing and was like, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then he was like, "Hey, Bob, check it out. Look what I got here. Oh, what is that weird white liquid? Yeah, you're not going to believe this. It's milk. You mean like from a cow? Yeah. No, try it. No, you try it. I did. It's delicious. You got to have some of this." Okay,
Bob's a weirdo. Have you ever tried milk from a cow's teat? I don't think I would drink unpasteurized milk. Yeah, Elegance. All this milk trivia. I guess we're going to learn something today. Well, yeah, we're going to end it on this note. This is great. Right. Oh, what did Jake find, though? 1 second. The man who first milked the cow, what was he trying to do? He was trying to milk the cow. He was an intelligent observer. Interesting.
An intelligent observer. That answered our question.
I mean, that's what they want to call it.
You can't milk pigs.
You can. You can milk any mammal. No. Well, okay, not
according to the Fockers.
You can try and milk any animal.
Pigs are really difficult to milk. That's why there's no like pig cheese, like there's goat cheese. Pigs are really difficult.
Well, pigs are difficult to deal with. I mean, they're so smart, right? And they don't sit still.
All right. Stop me before I look up why are pigs difficult to milk.
That's what Flying Briny says. You guys are going down a dark internet hole. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Check out Mad Chiller and Between Two Props at 10 o'clock. Like we said, Emu Flight updates, Kiss H7. Yeah, see how that goes. This chat is getting hilarious.
All right,
we're just going to end it now.
Here's a link to educate yourself about why we don't milk pigs.
There we go. Where'd you share it? Did you put it in the
YouTube chat? Yeah.
There we go. Oh, I don't know if it's going to let you. You might have to put it in our private chat, and we might have to share it for you.
Oh, it seemed to have gone through. We'll see.
I don't know. Yeah, if not, just message Bardwell, and he'll send you the link.
Yeah. You can ask me about battery shaking while you're at it.
There we go. Thank you so much for joining us today. So I really, really appreciate it. And I know that you like almost never do these interviews. So thank you. Wow. Hopefully Flow State will be out soon. I really want to see it. I know a lot of people want to see it.
It'll be a little while. But when it's here, we'll let it go. We'll let you know.
Amazing. Oh my God, Jake is just in a dark hole.
I'm engrossed now. I can't stop.
Oh, they did give a link here. It didn't show up in the tube, so we'll post it here, and then we're going to cut out. There you go. You can all be
Bye, guys.
Stuck in the internet all night. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming. We don't have a next show planned because we're still in our summer break, so we will announce on our Facebook or Instagrams when we're coming back, so check out that page. And
awesome.
Keep those props tight. Happy flying.